This is a re-edited version with human voiceover. Check pinned comment to see what parts are new. Episode 1 is adapted from the first chapter of the Heartstopper graphic novels. So you'll probably already know Heartstopper is based on Alice Oseman's graphic novel series that was originally a webcomic that's still available to read for free online on Tumblr, Webtoon and Tapas. There are also 2 Heartstopper novellas, Nick and Charlie and This Winter. Alice is also the writer of the show.
It was nice to just, Alice was on set most days, and so if we had any questions about something about the character we didn't totally understand or intentions of the scene, we could always ask Alice, and that was really nice to have like the Heartstopper Bible in a person always on set. And everything, I think a lot of adaptations where they fall at the hurdle is that they don't have the creator of the series involved so much. And I think that was something the production team really wanted to make sure, that Alice was fully involved from the start and in everything. And it means that the adaptation is true to the source material, which then in itself I think always means a better outcome for everyone. But it was really nice in that Alice also allowed us to make the characters our own and add our own spin on them, and make sure it wasn't just a carbon copy of the text straight on to the screen. We got to like make our own versions of Charlie and Nick and us.
Everything that's in the TV show has the rubber stamp of approval from Alice herself, because they're there and they're involved in the making of it. It's not always the way. That doesn't usually happen. Sometimes, what you would mainly do is go to a screenwriter to adapt an author's work. But I think in this case, it really helped build the kind of tone and feeling of the show in a way that really matches the experience of reading the webcomic and the graphic novel.
Truro Grammar School was filmed in an abandoned school called Eact Burnham Park Academy. Heartstopper is set in an unnamed fictional town in Kent. Alice Oseman went to a single-sex grammar school in Kent, so the schools Truro and Higgs are based on their lived experience. The show was mostly filmed in Slough at the school. Many places online state it was filmed in Herne Bay in Kent, but that was just the location for the beach scene in the last episode.
The production design, the choice of location, it's not a glamorous LA style school. It feels very British and very down to earth. And I think sometimes you can build a set and you can craft the lighting, you can choose exactly where the sources are, and it's more it's more possible often to achieve exactly what you dream of on a set. But when you're walking into a real location, you can't control where the windows are. You can't control the architecture is there for you, so you have to adapt the space through production design or through really cunning, clever lighting. And also, we didn't have a limitless budget, so sometimes we only had one sunlight. And if we were looking in this direction, the sunlight would be on a crane over there, and then we'd have to move it when we're turning around this way, and then all that stuff takes 30 minutes to kind of come around, and the crew's there kind of chewing their nails whilst it moves. But it is worth it. It is definitely worth it, and that all combines to give it that luster.
Charlie Spring is our main character. He's portrayed by Joe Locke in his first on-screen role. Charlie is in year 10 and 14 years old at the start of the series. He's smart and shy with a hidden confidence that we see in some of his braver actions. He plays the drums and likes reading.
Charlie is the most lovely, kind, and nice person. Like, he walks in a room and people just smile, and I hope that I'm sort of like Charlie in that way, but I worry that I'm nowhere near as nice as he is.
Charlie is quite timid. I think it has a certain shyness about him, and I think that's one of his most obvious character traits. And I saw that in a lot of auditions, that is what the actor would kind of cling to. But what people don't often sort of recognize about Charlie is the sort of inner confidence that he has in who he is and like what he wants. And the thing that I really felt from Joe's audition was that he got the balance of those two sides of Charlie. Like immediately I could feel those two things coming together, and that was just Charlie. Like I could just immediately see Charlie in that audition. So yeah, Joe, you're brilliant.
I relate so much to Charlie and his journey and his experiences and the way that he looks at the world. So I probably put more of myself into Charlie than I would have looking back liked, but it meant that I was able to do it authentically, which I'm really proud of.
It's the opening. The opening of the show plays with Want Me by Baby Queen, and it's very like, it sets up the whole tone of the show. It's very like fast paced. Ben? Oh.
The texts here already show you more about their relationship. In the comic, it's just meet-up locations.
Happy New Year, true boys. Don't forget there'll now be students from all school years in your new form groups. I hope you...
Did he write that with his left hand? Charlie's left-handed in the comics, but right-handed in the show. As an artist myself, I do suspect that comic characters might end up being unintentionally left-handed often, because you tend to draw characters as a kind of mirror image of yourself, holding the pen on the side that yours is on the paper. Been there, done that.
Well, if it isn't Charlie Spring, Happy New Year.
Hi, sir.
Come to join the ranks of Hamlet House?
The house system is a traditional feature of schools in England and the United Kingdom. The school is divided into subunits called houses, and each student is allocated to one house at the moment of enrollment. Houses may compete with one another at sports and maybe in other ways, thus providing a focus for group loyalty. This form group is a vertical form, where students from different grades are put in the same house. If you're not from the UK, you're probably most familiar with houses from Harry Potter. Speaking of Harry Potter, the comics confirm that Nick is a Gryffindor and Charlie is a Slytherin. This reference was removed from later editions of the books. Netflix Charlie seems more Hufflepuffish to me. He's definitely more innocent in the show.
Ah, yes, you're over there. Next to Nicholas Nelson. He's in year 11, so only 1 year older than you. One of the rugby boys, too, I think. I'm sure you'll get along swimmingly.
The Happy Mandrake said, the light reflection making those little rainbows when Charlie saw Nick for the first time, literally screaming gay. That was probably the intention, so I'm glad that that's what you saw from it.
It's all those little illustrations and things like that. It's the little details, you know.
Quote from interview with composer Adieska Chase on the Record UniSA by Gemma Jones. A distinctive part of the soundtrack is the way it feels as if it is replicating the characters' inner feelings. One of the ways Chase achieved that feeling was by using a synth and bending the note upwards. By bending that note, I feel like it gives you that little heart flutter, or that feeling when you go over a bump in the road in a car and your tummy does a little flip, Chase said. That flip can happen as well when you see someone you really like. You can hear those bends in the notes constantly throughout the soundtrack, and this is completely intentional. The bendy note is first heard when Charlie sees Nick for the first time, and from then on it becomes a signifier of their shared moments. It's just a little Easter egg that says, "There's Nick," or that he's on Charlie's mind. Quote from director Euros Lynn from an interview with thegamer.com. What's interesting about that scene is that we actually shot it twice. The first time we shot it, I'd put in a lot of camera moves, and we've got this expensive piece of equipment called a contra-zoom, which pushed in on Nick and changed the depth of field, so he was suddenly the only one in the shot. When we cut it together, we realized it was overdone and that it needed to be simpler. Thanks to our producer, We managed to find time to reshoot it, and that's what you see on screen. It lands the romance without overplaying it, which I think is the story's strength. The following are direct quotes from animator Anna Perinato's Instagram about the animation process. For those of you who are interested in the animation process behind Heartstopper, here's the short version. I knew from the beginning what the Heartstopper moments were going to be, aka the scenes that would require animations. The storyboards for those scenes were already beautifully illustrated by Alice Oseman, so the first thing I would do was translating the storyboards into style frames, creating a first visualization of what it could look like in the show, using still frames from the footage I was given. Once the style frames were approved, I'd move to animating the whole scene, and once that was finalized, I'd deliver the animations to the compositing and VFX team, which was in charge of putting all the elements together and adding color corrections and other effects. The first time they meet is so iconic. In the comic book, the leaves felt like they were flying around already. Still, it was very magical seeing them twirl around Nick and Charlie once I finished the animation. Nicholas Nelson, played by Kit Connor, is the star player of the rugby team. Nick is effortlessly popular because of his nice and approachable personality and sports prowess. He likes Marvel movies, dogs and fountain pens. We never see anything about him liking baking on the show, even though that's mentioned in his character profile, and we see a bit of that in the comics.
Kit, what do you think are the similarities between you and Nick?
I think there's things that you can take from his story and his character that you know everyone can really relate to. I think that the ideas of kind of dealing with you know, like the social pressures of being in school and being you know, popular can kind of lead to expectations on him that he has to then kind of deal with. And you know, everyone expects the fact that because he's this, you know, the captain of the rugby team and very popular guy in school, everyone kind of assumes that he's this sort of stereotypical straight rugby player. And I think that that's something that, you know, he has to deal with, and I think that a lot of people can relate to those kind of internal conflicts and those kind of expectations that people have to go through.
I think one of the best things about playing Nick is he's got so much sort of going on in his head. A lot of my performance for me felt very much internal, especially like, you know, when I wasn't speaking or when I was just sort of sitting in my room alone. I think one of the most important things for me playing it was just having that internal kind of conflict in his head. And he's just so desperate to, like, you know, not let anyone down or not, you know. Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things for me, but it's lovely to play him in that sense.
We met each other.
Yeah, we met each other.
And we got to know each other a little bit. I mean, that's the thing, it's a lot of just sort of highs, you know.
Hi, 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 hi.
You do the Charlie high, I'll do the...
But you go first, normally.
Okay. Hi.
Hi. It's very much that, it's like breathy, it's sort of...
Yeah, nervous.
I think it's just like Charlie's instant, like, oh my god, who is this? Instant, like, click of attraction towards Nick. Because at the start of the scene, he's feeling it, he's a bit like, ugh. He's a bit arsey. Oh, can I say that? He's a bit arsey with the with his form tutor, and then he sees Nick, and it's like instantly makes him like smile and happy and like, oh, who's this?
Yeah, we had all 8 scripts, all 8 episodes. I think one of the things that drew me to the show the most is actually the way that the script was written, because obviously it was written by Alice Oseman, who's, you know, an author, but also an amazing illustrator. It's obviously based on the graphic novels.
Yeah.
Alice basically wrote and drew in illustrations onto the script, which I found was so unique and so, you know, interesting, and it really kind of added another layer to the script, because I think sometimes scripts can be a bit boring, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's nice to have a visual tonal reference to what's
Exactly. Even if it was just like flowers or stars or things like that, I think they were really, really cool and really kind of set it aside from other scripts that I'd read.
Sorry about earlier.
Ben Hope is played by Sebastian Croft, with more feeling and nuance than his character appears in the graphic novels. Sebastian, known by friends as Bash, explores more of the internal struggle and pain in Ben, whereas in the comics he just appears smirky and evil all the time. Fun fact, Sebastian Croft is the leader of the Ben Hope Hate Club, which actually got him into trouble on TikTok.
I keep getting videos taken down for bullying and harassment because I'm bullying Ben Hope, a character that I play. TikTok, what?
Sebastian Croft quote from his interview from Boys by Girls. Within this beautiful, sweet world, I play Ben Hope, who is not lovely. Very horrible, actually. I think in the books, in Charlie's story, he's the antagonist. But I felt very strongly that he's the antagonist in his own story. He's suffering. Sebastian Croft quote from Vangsept magazine. It was definitely challenging getting into character. The hardest thing was that I really hate Ben. He goes against a lot of what I stand for, and for a show that's so celebratory, it's weird playing a character who's hateful and oppressive in that.
You're so cute.
The only true thing out of Ben's mouth.
Okay.
He really wiped the kiss off his mouth right in front of Charlie. The nerve on this guy.
Hi. 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 Hi.
Hold on.
And I kept getting suspended because of my hair length.
Hair length?
Yeah, they have this stupid chin length or above rule.
Why is this guy allowed to have a full ponytail?
You going that way?
Yeah, maths.
Same.
I've seen people express confusion about the timeline of the show. In the previous version of this video, I stated here that this montage of greetings shows weeks of time passing, but I got a very in-depth comment telling me this can't be the case, and this is all still during the first week back in school. This further proves that the timeline confusion is one of the few things I've heard people criticize about the show, and it seems like I got caught in it as well. In any case, we start the show just after Christmas break in January, and it's February at the end of the first episode.
If you're stuck, I can just... Let me just... Get off! How dare you?
I really want to get the smiley face that Nick
Yeah, that's
draws
so.
on Charlie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
I
that's
really
quite
want to
good.
get that.
That's quite good actually.
But it's not good to have a tattoo on your hand as an actor, so I
Yeah.
have to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it would have to be somewhere a bit more sort of like private. Yeah, I think I would maybe the smiley face as well. Actually, I feel like that's a nice personal touch.
Hey.
What?
Just hi.
Why are you talking to me? I don't even know who you are. Alright, mate.
Yeah, all right.
Ben really thinks this is less suspicious? As if Nick was going to remember forever that he said hi back to Charlie that one time instead of this very bizarre, very memorable exchange. Okay.
You're friends with Ben?
Yeah, he's in my year. We hang out sometimes.
Oh.
Nick dislikes Ben in the comics.
I did it again.
Tao Su is one of Charlie's closest friends, played by William Gao. He is fiercely protective and isn't afraid to speak his mind. He's quite intense and fans pretty much either love him or find him annoying. He's got issues, but I am one of the people who love him. Tao loves cinema and he likes to dress like a character from a Wes Anderson movie. While Tao in the comics is short, Will Gao is the opposite and the tallest member of the main cast. There are two main theories fans have about Tao's hairstyle. One is that they had to make Will Gao look less attractive so that he would pass for a borderline outcast, so they gave him a less appealing hairstyle. The other theory is that Tao was growing his hair in solidarity with Elle, who was getting in trouble for her hair length because of the chin length or above roll. Curling the ends up like that would make the hair less than chin length, so it makes sense. These reasons have not been confirmed.
Yeah, with Tao's hair, style. It kind of has taken on a life of its own. Is it something that you just embrace? Because I know your hair, you don't wear it like that in real life.
No, I don't. I don't wear the same hairstyle as Tao. It's very out there, I think, hairstyle, and there's been a lot of reaction to it online, I've heard. And yeah, I mean, I thought it aided the character really well. I think Tao's very nerdy and he's very kind of goofy. And I think the hairstyle is reminiscent of that. And I think it was, I said to Eros, actually, the director, I said, I don't know about the hair. I was in a session later on. And I was like, I don't know about the hair. And he was like, you know what? I think it's iconic and you should think that too. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So it's iconic.
We have to talk about that hair. What was it like getting into that hair? And did you have anything to do with that? Did you have any input? Did you come up with that? Or who came up with that? Because it's awesome.
It is really out there, the hair. And should Heartstopper return, we'll see what happens, but it might change, might not. It might stay the same. But
okay.
I think with I think it's very reminiscent of the character. I think he's very goofy, Tao is, and he's really kind of nerdy and but also very unapologetically himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the hair, Dee, who did the hair and makeup, like she really wanted to go for a real wild look for this character. This kind of, she just wanted to go for it. And also with a beanie on, my hair naturally looked kind of strange. There's no way to kind of really do my hair with a beanie, so that was kind of a cool kind of way to kind of get it out and showing. But yeah, it was nuts, and there's a lot of reaction on social media about the hair. But yeah, no, I think it aids the character. But I think also at school, I remember we all go through crazy hair. We go through crazy hair moments.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you're changing hairstyle like one week, and then the next week it's different. And I think, Tao might be going through that phase. You never know. You might be going through a crazy hair phase.
I love that. So how long does it take to get into that hair? Or you could say even your hair and makeup every day on set?
For me, it took a while. I mean, it took more than like Kit or Joe. Like Joe's hairstyle is pretty similar to like Charlie's. It took a while. They were like a team of hair curlers at one point. I think probably an hour to be safe. 40 minutes, 50 minutes to an hour maybe, including makeup. But remember, I also had a lot of acne at that point, like when we were shooting. Okay. So there was a lot of like concealer, a lot of ways like, how can we make this continuous when you didn't have that spot there and stuff like that.
I bought Elle's drink again.
I remember the first day on set, I fluffed the first line of the entire shoot, and I can't remember what the line was, but I sat down and I was like,
that was your first ever sort of set.
I think we all have hiccups.
On
the first day, I really fluffed a lot of lines. I think I was just really nervous on the first day. On the first take, I just completely
It was snowing. We sat on this bench and it was like 2 degrees and it was snowing, and we were all stood there for 4 hours and we just like,
she was like
shaking.
We had these like long 3-inch pieces of dialogue.
Yeah.
And I just remember just completely freezing, literally and mentally.
What we're filming tomorrow is all of the stuff at the picnic table from episodes 1 and 2, and the stuff outside the PE corridor before Charlie goes into PE, I think. So that's good. I've got one line, which I've memorised, and my one line is, are you ready? Didn't you do that yesterday as well? 10 out of 10 actor there, thank you very much.
Hi everyone, welcome to our vlog. It's really cold. We're just doing some running on the spot to heat us up. And we're already all divas. Yeah, well, mostly just you, Joe, to be fair.
Didn't you do that yesterday as well? Yes, Isaac, yes I did.
Isaac Henderson, played by Toby Donovan, is a new character who does not appear in the comics. Isaac replaces Aled from the comics because Aled already has his own story in his own Alice Oseman book, Radio Silence. Isaac is a bookworm, and Alice Oseman has confirmed that she has plans to expand his character as aromantic and asexual in future seasons. Isaac is and will forever be a mood, and we love him and need more of him. Isaac is always seen with a book, and the first one he's shown reading here is Dune Messiah by Frank Herbert. This is the second book in the Dune series and a notoriously challenging science fiction read. Isaac is already showing us here that he's a serious reader and a fan of sci-fi.
I most relate to, in the show,
probably Isaac, and in the books, probably Alid. They are very similar characters, because I am the quiet friend, usually, who's just observing and thinking about things and not saying a lot.
I think Isaac's the friend that when he's not there, you really miss him, but sometimes you don't always notice he's there. I think, he's definitely a protector as well. I think people think Tao's the protector because Tao's very vocal about it, but secretly it's Isaac. I think Isaac's the one that looks after Tao as well as everyone else.
Elle's not here.
I know.
She's not been here a week.
I know. I just keep forgetting.
Tao, you're allowed to miss her.
Okay, fine. Obviously, it's better that she's at an all-girls school now. You know, Mr. Reed was still refusing to call her Elle.
Yeah, Mr. Reed's a massive transphobe.
That is a pretty natural sounding way to introduce Elle as being a trans character. Some people still completely missed it though. Can't be helped, I guess.
Yeah, it was really important to have a diverse range of queer experiences in Heartstopper. It's not just Nick and Charlie's story. There are lots of different characters, all on the LGBTQ+ spectrum. I think it's really important for people to be able to see themselves in books, and for that reason I wanted there to be lots of different kinds of experiences. And one of the most important things about Heartstopper is that it's got a big queer friendship group at the centre of it all, and that's something that we should all celebrate.
Isn't that Nick Nelson? The guy you sit next to in form?
Who?
The one that looks like a golden retriever.
I actually don't know, but like, is there like an official? Just say a dog or something. Say a golden retriever.
He doesn't look like a golden retriever. Okay, he does.
I can't believe you've been sat next to rugby king Nick Nelson. Like, what are you going to talk about every morning?
We talked.
Really? About what?
Charlie, you don't have a tissue, do you? My pen just exploded. It's not coming off.
You're gonna be blue forever.
It looks like I'm wearing blue gloves.
You can make it the new school fashion.
I'll pretend it's a tattoo.
Yeah,
it's very similar. You know, it's literally like it's
even
an
the lines
moment.
are the same. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Like what we say in the bathroom.
Yeah, and obviously like the pen has become iconic.
Yes.
So many fans have said like, you know, that pen, singular pen, blowing
Even
up.
yesterday when Patrick posted a photo on Instagram of your planner with the pen, they're like, is that the pen? Is that
that's
the
pen that brings them together?
General aesthetic of Heartstopper, that was very much Eros, our director. That was something that was really important to him in sort of preserving the aesthetic of the comic. When we were on set, when we were doing a scene that was in the comics, he would always have the comic pages open on an iPad, like next to the script. So he was always thinking about like the framing of it and how to best replicate what's in the comics.
A lot of people are confused about how Nick's pen exploded. He explains in the graphic novel that it's a fountain pen and they sometimes do that.
We are a trio of borderline outcasts.
I personally find it so funny Tao says that because I have borderline personality disorder and see so much of myself in Tao. I'm not diagnosing him with it by any means, but he has some suspiciously BPD traits like has a favorite person he's very attached to, is afraid of abandonment, says and does things impulsively, is dramatic and has emotional outbursts, sees people and things in black and white as either good or bad. Please don't come for me for this observation or for sharing that I personally have this disorder. It just gives me comfort that a character I love is like me in so many ways. I also saw another person with BPD comment this on another video, so I'm not the only one who noticed. You don't have to accept this headcanon, and I'm not saying he definitely has it either. Just sharing my perspective. I love Tao so much and I was just like him as a teen. It always feels good seeing a BPD person represented in media as someone who isn't just a straight up monster, so I find comfort in thinking of Tao as relatable in this way. I would love to ask Alice Oseman what she thinks about this. I don't see this in Tao in the comics, but it's noticeable in the show.
Nick. He's different. He's nice.
I bet he's a whole different person when he's with his dude friends.
I've said this a lot now. I really like how Tao kind of says what he thinks, and he's very opinionated, and he's not afraid to say his opinion. And I think that's really kind of cool, and I wish I did that more. And he's just really unapologetically himself in a way, and that drew me to him. And the challenges for me, I'm quite different from that. I'm quite kind of I'd say I'm not very kind of opinionated on a lot of things that he is. So that was a challenge to kind of really click in with that kind of fire. I won't say anger, but I'll say fire. The fire of Tao Su.
Lunch ends in 5 minutes and Elle hasn't even started eating yet. Elle Argent is one of Charlie's closest friends. She used to go to Truham Boys School but came out as transgender and had to move to Harvey Green Grammar School for Girls, also known as Higgs, in the middle of the school year. She's in year 11, so a year older than the others in Charlie's friendship group. Elle is artistic and likes making her own clothes.
From the point that I seen that casting call, my life changed like forever, because I read the description and Elle was a trans girl of colour, very femme energy. She's intact with her femininity. She's moved from high school, she's shy, but she's got like confidence, she's got amazing people around her, like all these things. I was like, yeah, I relate to that. I moved high school, so I literally relate to Elle so much. So when I seen the casting call, I was like, not this, like in this industry, a trans role like is out there, I need to get it.
Having Elle being my first role ever, oh my, I just don't even, like, it just gets me so excited basically, because this is literally the first time I've seen like a black trans girl in the UK on my screen, other than it being me. Most of them are in America, and just to be that like black queer representation in the UK is just like the tip of the iceberg. I feel so lucky and blessed.
I think one thing Alice said to me was just be myself, because for me, Elle is a trans girl in high school and I'm the same. I'm like very similar to Elle in many ways. So yeah, it was just be myself, don't overthink it and smash it, and just know that we're all here for the, you know, the right reasons, and this is a family and we're here to have a good time.
Yeah, so I wanted Elle's story to be a story about a trans character that's not focused on trauma or horrible transphobia, or even transition, really. It's not about that. Its focus is more on starting a new school and making new friends, and oh no, maybe she has a crush on her friend. What's she going to do? And that was really important to me. Like, I think all kinds of trans stories are so important, and we need more, and all different kinds, all different types of stories. We need more stories about trauma, more stories about transition, and more stories that aren't about either of those things. But that is what I wanted to do with Elle's story.
The poster says, "To thine own self be true."
It's quite a while since you've hidden in here at lunch.
I'm not hiding.
Then what are you doing?
Nathan Ajayi teaches art at Higgs in the comics, and we meet him in Volume 3. In the show, he's moved to Truham and takes on a bigger role as Charlie's LGBT mentor figure. He wears a rainbow pin to signal to students that he's offering a safe space to talk about LGBT issues. Quote from actor Fisayo Akinade from Tudum article, "Mr. Ajayi in Heartstopper is the teacher we all wish we had in high school" by Tara Bitron. There's a generation of gay men who maybe look at the younger generation now and are a bit bitter about it, because it's slightly more open and accepting in general than it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even the early 2000s. But I think Mr. Ajayi is somebody who's gone, what a gift it is to have had the experience I've had, which was tough, and to see the experience these kids are having, which is better, and then go, but if they are struggling, I know how to help them navigate it because I've been there. I think he's somebody who's had to be quite the survivor, and instead of looking at that as a negative thing, he's gone, I didn't have someone like me when I was growing up, so why don't I be that person to any kid who needs it? Which I think is quite a rare quality, to offer up a sanctuary to a child who is struggling.
So everything's okay? There's no bullies I need to sort out again?
In the comics, Charlie's popular because some older students, sixth formers, put an end to the bullying. In the show, it seems that Mr. Ajayi is the one who took care of the bullies, so that the worst of it is over at this point.
I've got a boyfriend.
Oh, well, congratulations.
He doesn't even like people seeing us talk to each other in the corridors. He pretends like he doesn't know who I am. But then when it's just us two, he's fine.
Except that he isn't fine in private either. He's still condescending, controlling, and manipulative when you're in private.
Just talk to him. It's better to be honest about your feelings in the long run.
It's so good for Charlie that he ends up with Nick, who is very open and honest about his feelings, because Charlie can close off so easily if not encouraged.
I hate being honest.
I know. It took you 3 months to tell me you were being bullied.
The journey of the graphic novel follows the school year from the first day of term in January through to, Nick and Charlie going off to the beach, which feels like the beginning of summer, the end of spring. And of course, Charlie's surname is Spring, and it's no accident that this awakening of Charlie is reflected in the seasons, and we wanted to get that on the screen. So episode 1 starts in very cold winter, but there were production design and scheduling things we did. So for example, outside the classroom when Nick and Charlie first meet, their form room, there's a bare tree, and we were shooting from beginning of April through till June, and in April, thankfully, it was a late summer. There were no leaves on the tree. So for the January sequences, you can see this bare tree behind Charlie. But as the seasons evolve, the tree bursts into leaf. And by episode 7, it's a beautiful green tree and kind of mirroring what goes on inside him. And then Tim, the production designer, he also echoed that in the production design. So in the corner of the art room, there's a tree painted on the floor. And at the start of the show, the tree's bare and lifeless. But as we get to the end of our 8-episode arc, the tree's burst into leaf and it has fruit on it. And so, so that was, they were things that we peppered throughout the show.
And Ben's girlfriend was never seen again. I wonder about that. Did he keep dating her, or did things falling apart with Charlie make it harder for him to maintain this weird relationship? Was she just a cover, or is he bisexual? He doesn't bring her to the movie night later, so maybe she saw that he wasn't treating her right, or he couldn't continue with it.
Morning.
Jesus, Tori.
Why's your face like that?
Broke up with my boyfriend.
Victoria Tori Spring is Charlie's older sister. She's also the protagonist of Alice Oseman's debut novel Solitaire, where Nick and Charlie are side characters. If you're a fan of Heartstopper and want to read Solitaire for more Nick and Charlie, I must warn you that Solitaire is a very depressing book with a much, much darker tone than Heartstopper. I find it interesting to see how different Charlie's and Tori's perspectives to events are, even though Solitaire takes place towards the latter part of the Heartstopper graphic novels and they describe some of the same events. There's also more about what happens to Ben later, and it's not pretty or gratifying.
It's not often that you have source material which literally shows you an image of what you're trying to go for. So I thought it would be stupid to not use that. So, the facial expressions, they're so intricate, the way that Alice draws. So I focused quite a lot on like the physicality of Tori, and particularly like facial expressions, how she, the way she looks at people. She has the sort of like slightly sleepy eyes the whole time, where she's slightly looking sort of from below her fringe. So I tried to really get that, and the sarcasm, and I think I went through my script and penciled in where I was gonna. I think it said where she sips, but sort of practicing sipping in between lines.
Let's talk about Brenda, which is your wig that you wore. Was it ever in the cards for you to keep your natural hair, or early on did they tell you that the wig was the way to go?
So, Brenda. Basically, my hair was at the time sort of hairish, a longish bob, which is, for people who've read the books, they'll know that that's how Tori's hair ends up later on. So I think it's quite important that she starts with the long hair and then makes that decision to chop it all off. It's quite it is an event in the books, I'd say. So yeah, short of growing my hair that long in that short amount of time, we were always going to have to do something. I think originally the idea might have been to do extensions and maybe dye my hair a bit darker to get it that sort of really dark color that Tori's is. But eventually we went with Brenda. There were a few different candidates for wigs other than Brenda, but we saw her audition and we thought she's got to have that part.
Was he a knob?
Yes.
And Charlie never reveals Ben's identity to anyone, not even in solitaire when Ben gets even worse and violent towards Charlie.
Well done then. Hypothetically, what sort of boy do you want to go out with?
That was the first scene that me and Joe filmed. So that was literally, we had just met pretty well. Other than the read through, that was.
Do you know
day
what I
one.
mean though? It's showing up a lot on social media.
Yeah,
like
because
that.
they did the behind the scenes, and I remember him filming that, and I was just not aware he had this phone down by our feet, and I was like, oh, hello. That was a really, really fun one actually, but there's quite a lot to contend with. All the noise of the bus, all the supporting artists behind us. It was quite overwhelming as a first thing to shoot.
Oh, absolutely.
Joe had filmed some other stuff before that, so he was actually like holding my hand, kind of helping me out. So that was really nice to have him like there to support.
One of the running scenes, I had to ask the extras to slow down because I was supposed to be like this incredible runner, and every take they were just slowly getting closer to me. And I was like, can you guys just like slow down a little bit? Which was very embarrassing.
I love sports. I think sports is great. You know, I'm a big basketball fan, big NBA fan. But yeah, I love sports. What do you think, Joe?
I am not a sports fan. Not sure if that was clear already. My yearbook quote at the end of school was 5 years of school, 2 weeks of PE, because I'd always just forged my mum's signature so I could get a note. Once my mum was like, oh, I'll give you a note for PE because it's your birthday. I was like, no, Mum, it's fine, I'll do it. Like, they know my version of your signature better than they know your signature at this point, so it's fine. The running scene, we was like quite early on, and I was like, I really want to impress people, so I'm going to give it all my all. And we got to like take 20 or something of doing it, and I was like, I'm actually going to vomit.
Yeah.
Like, I ended up having to sit down with a bucket for like half an hour because I just like run to the point that I was about to collapse. And they're like, oh God, I think we've killed Joe. Like, what have we done? It's day 2 and we've already... But yeah, it was a great scene to film as well.
So, I had something I wanted to ask you.
Quoted directly from the Instagram of Anna Peronetto, Heartstopper animator. This dreamy pink fantasy with some Japanese anime influences was so fun to work on. Also one of the first scenes I got to animate in the show. Charlie's fantasizing about Nick through this pink lens is everything. Also, did you notice the Chewin badge on Nick's jacket changed slightly for this shot?
Charlie, I wanted to tell you that I'm gay too, and I'm in love with you.
When they showed this at the NTA, Skip totally cringed at himself.
I don't like watching myself at all. So the fact that I was able to sit through like Heartstopper twice, I was able to sit through the whole thing twice, is testament to like how much I like it. Do you want to go out with me? I want to be with you forever. Going into that, even just reading the script, you can see that we had things like Heartstopper moments, which was basically when the animations would come into play. And in this script, there were illustrations, there were drawings around the text, and I had never seen that before.
No.
I thought that was something that's really interesting, and it actually drew me in when I was reading the script for the first time and thinking, even just looking at the script, this is something really cool and fresh and new. And I thought that, you know, that was always kind of part of the plan. It's a difficult thing to sort of add these sort of 2D illustrations to a real life show, but I think it's done very subtly and very, beautifully, in my opinion, just sort of bringing those illustrations to life. Do you want to join the rugby team?
What?
And you're sure you want to spend a whole hour with giant moronic rugby lads?
Yes.
It's your funeral.
Blink and you'll miss it. Isaac actually has a book in this scene as well. You can only see the back of it for a few frames, but Keen-eyed fans recognized it as Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman. This is quite a popular young adult book I haven't personally read yet, but from what I understand it's a romance between people belonging to different racialized classes in an alternate universe.
Charlie Spring though, is he in like year 8?
No, he's a year 10.
He's like well skinny though.
can even play. Like, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but we actually want to be decent. Does he even like sports? Everyone knows he's gay.
Notice how Cy and Christian aren't saying anything as bad as Harry. They're prejudiced because they're concerned about the team doing well, so they're not exactly nice, but they never say anything homophobic about Charlie. Cy even says Charlie's probably a nice guy.
What was the most challenging scene for you?
The rugby scenes. In fact, the changing room scenes, because I, throughout my whole school career, did the best I could to not go anywhere near the PE department. It just wasn't for me. The sports and the atmosphere and the sort of laddie culture just very much isn't my vibe. And so to like be in that environment again was a really weird thing to get used to. But even then, like it wasn't that challenging. Probably the most challenging was actually playing the rugby, and the rain rugby scene in episode 4 was hard work.
I know I was joking about being weak, but I'm definitely too weak for this.
Where is your can-do attitude?
Oh, she left long ago.
Just try, tackle me, I won't dodge. Okay, you got it. One more time.
Come on, this side, sir.
Push up.
Come on, mate, we've got practice.
Don't die.
Fine.
Thanks so much. Cheers. Oh, you got it.
Well done, well.
I think I said to Charlie at one point in a montage, I said, "Don't die." And I think that was quite funny. Like when we was like, "Don't die," very Tao, kind of bit sarcastic, bit kind of silly, and I think that's probably my favorite line.
This scene seems to confuse some people on their first viewing. It's just supposed to tell you Elle and Tao miss each other. They're looking for each other, not at each other.
Well done.
I don't want free earbuds. No, because why is Joe's/Charlie's giggle so adorable here?
It is pretty adorable, actually. I think, but that's mostly because of me, actually, to be honest. I think I just made him giggle like that. And it's quite easy to get a giggle out of Charlie Spring, you know, you just sort of hit him with a sort of hi, you know.
Just hit him.
Recreate it now.
No,
right now.
No, that's too much pressure. Kit would agree that I'm probably not as shy and adorable as Charlie is. So I had to really, really push myself to become more shy and more adorable.
No, but he did it perfectly, so job well done, really.
I'm gonna miss the school. Do you reckon they ever shot with these things?
No, I think we just did it for license and fun.
Like someone's slaved away on that. Maybe was the library up here somewhere? Because there's lots of books. And this one is about books. I feel like they just did this for me so I can get into character.
Charlie.
Don't touch me. I said I don't want to meet up with you anymore.
Yeah, and I don't believe you.
What?
You're clearly just scared of getting caught.
Charlie.
I feel like it's easier to get into the space of being horrible when you know and love the people you're working with. But it was weird. The scene with Joe where Ben basically assaults him was one of the most challenging things I've done. And I really, because the first shot we did it all the way through. And it was weird being that horrible. I didn't like it. But no, it's fairly easy to disconnect. And it's funny because we're like giving each other evil eyes in the scene and then it's cut and then we're all like messing around together. So no, it's very lovely. I feel grateful to be working with such lovely people.
I know you like me. Stop it!
Sebastian Croft quote from Vangtset magazine. When I was exploring the character and with the sexual assault scene, I was speaking to a therapist and he said often people who have no value have no values. And that perfectly summed up Ben to me.
Go on. Piss off.
In the comic, Nick says fuck off, but the show cut out curse words so that younger audiences can watch it. The creators of the show felt it was important that the show is accessible to everyone and can be viewed in family settings as well. The comic has an older demographic and there's plenty of swearing in it.
You seemed kind of like something was up while we were getting changed, so I wanted to check everything was okay.
This was shown in the comic.
Sorry. You have nothing to be sorry about. Sorry. You say sorry a lot. I always say that one of the most British parts of the show is that like everyone keeps on saying sorry all the time. I think that's a bit of a stereotypically British thing, and we definitely, you know, Charlie especially does that so much, just constantly apologizing. We should get out. We'll get locked in if we stay here much longer.
Yeah.
Good practice, Nikki.
Everyone's reaction here. Is that Olivia Colman?
When did you find out that she had been cast as Nick's mother?
Well, it was all a massive secret, even on set. You know, I remember in the hair and makeup room, everyone sort of gossiping, trying to work out who it was, because we'd been told that somebody big was being cast, but it all depended on some scheduling things, and
as they all do.
As they all do. And then at one point, someone was saying, "We've been told it's an Oscar winner." So then at this point, we're thinking, oh my gosh, because we're also trying to work out, is it someone that's worked with Eros before? Which obviously Olivia did Broadchurch with Eros. So yeah, we were trying to, at one point I was thinking Catherine Tate because of Doctor Who, and I don't know, we went through a lot of different possibilities, but I think I only found out, I'm not even sure if I was meant to know, but I think somebody in the cast might have told me around about the time when Olivia was filming her scenes.
You didn't know that Olivia was going to be in Heartstopper?
No. So they had this like...
Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman, yeah. Just in case anyone didn't know. The Olivia. It's like Madonna, it's just one word.
Yeah,
well, Olivia.
One name.
They have a call sheet, which is kind of numbers of, you know, like just the cast, like just basically a list of the cast. And there was just this like mystery number 3. And everyone was like, who's number 3? They're playing Nick's mum, we don't know. And there were all these like rumours going around set of who it might be. And as a joke, we put one of the crew members' photo on number 3, like the number 3 sheet. And so I sent a message to our, like, we've got a Heartstopper group chat. I was like, guys, I know who number 3 is. And I was about to send this like photo of one of the crew members, and I got this message from Kit being like, Patrick's just told us who it is, like, don't tell anyone else, like, we can't, like, people can't find out. And I was like, oh, I was joking. And Patrick, the producer, was stood next to Kit and Joe, and they were like, oh my god, Bash knows who number 3 is. And Patrick was like, okay, I'm gonna tell you, but like we have to keep this under wraps. And so like it was kind of an accident how we ended up finding out originally, because until she was actually on set, I think they were like, didn't want to say anything.
Wow.
But yeah.
And how lovely is she as well?
So lovely.
You then find out that your on-screen mum is going to be Olivia Colman. And you don't get more experience than like an Oscar winner, Olivia Colman, really. Yeah. What was some of those moments on set with her where you were like, pinch me, I can't believe this is actually happening?
I mean, honestly, like, even just finding out that we were going to be, like, that she was going to be playing my mum was incredible, because I didn't even know. Like, we didn't know until maybe 2-3 weeks before. And then suddenly it was like, oh my Lord, you know, Olivia Colman. There was always a question mark around who was going to play my mum. And suddenly, yeah, we got the news. But I mean, working with her, we spent 2 days filming with her, because she's, you know, she's a very, very, very busy woman in the industry. I think the first time I met her, I was really trying to play it cool, and I thought I was playing it cool for a little while, but I had a cup of coffee in my hand, and I had I had a cap in my other hand. I had a hat, and I was talking to her, and then got sort of quite animated, and then I spilt a little bit of my coffee on my hat, and it was very embarrassing. So I was definitely a little bit nervous, and nervous acting alongside her as well was, you know, that was a a very big thing. But yeah, it was extremely rewarding. It was a really fun experience, and very interesting to see someone as talented as Olivia Colman act. She's just such a lovely person. She's really bubbly. She's very laid back though at the same time. She doesn't sort of doesn't make you feel uncomfortable. Doesn't make you feel like stressed out. It's very calming and just puts you completely at ease, immediately, and sort of cracking jokes and things like that. And she was just really fun to work with, and she was just generally lovely person.
Nick's mum's name is Sarah Nelson, and as previously established, she's played by Olivia Colman, who is a greatly esteemed actress. Apparently Sarah is a doctor, though this is never mentioned anywhere in the books or the show, but set designer Maxwell Fine mentioned this when talking about designing Nick's room. She's divorced from Nick's dad, Stéphane Fournier, who is French. She also has an older son, David, who we will meet in season 2. Sarah has a lovely, open and warm relationship with Nick, but David is an asshat, so that relationship is more strained.
Nick?
What? Yeah, it was normal.
Nick tends to say things are normal when they most certainly aren't, and he's lying. He does this again later to Harry in episode 3. And that's it for episode 1 again. I hope this version was better for you. I will leave a pinned comment with timestamps on each one of the re-edits as I get them done, so you can see what parts are new if you don't want to watch the whole thing again. I'm still very awkward reading a script, but maybe I'll get more used to it as I make more videos. Thanks for the feedback and encouragement. See you in the next one!